Bobi Wine, the elected president of Uganda, has a message for you. Year 2024 begins and is the year for action packed.
Thank you very much, Comrade Waiswa. Nengo sudiza nyo. Aka award winner nako kokongedeko. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, friends from the media, for showing up. Fellow Ugandans, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, to thank the Almighty God for seeing us through 2023 and allowing us to see 2024. We have lost so many of our people in the past year, and we continue to pray for their souls. I also want to take this opportunity to officially congratulate the new leader of our parliamentary front, the Right Honorable Joel Senyonyi. We see ourselves in you and are looking forward so much to seeing the voice of the common people reflected on the floor of Parliament. Friends, as we begin 2024, I would request us to take a moment to reflect as we look into the future. In 2023, we saw top regime officials, including Museveni's Vice President, Jessica Lupo, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Mong, Nabanja, and many other regime ministers, including the Minister for Ethics and Integrity, sharing amongst themselves the relief items that were meant for the suffering people of Karamoja, Uganda's poorest region. While they were busy looting what was meant to save Karamoja, the people of Karamoja were busy dying. Reports indicate that over 900 people died of hunger in Karamoja, where over 60% of the population is poor. Last year, we saw a renewed wave of abductions. Many of our people were kidnapped, tortured, and some of them are still missing to the present day. Many of the victims that were lucky to be freed told us horrifying stories of what happened to them while in CMI. Many women and men were raped. You all remember one of our comrades, Alex Kaiwa, telling us that he was sodomized in CMI by Uganda's military officials. I know the media tried so much to sit on this story. I know Felix Kulaije did not say anything about them raping fellow men in CMI, but will not stop reminding the nation about this. Many of our comrades, including Wumal Magara, Muyodi, and many others, were brutally arrested and are still languishing in prison as we speak now, without due process whatsoever. While Honorable Sewanyana and Honorable Sejirinya were released on bail after spending 524 days in prison for crimes they never committed, we saw Olivia Rutaya and her colleagues enter the third year in prison. They were abducted in early 2021 for having supported the opposition, and as we speak right now, their trial has not kicked off yet. We saw how the media and civil society were intimidated and largely silenced. We also saw many religious leaders either intimidated into silence or compromised to preach evil as good and good as evil. We saw how few greedy politicians were given dirty money to destroy sister opposition parties that their comrades have spent so much efforts, sweat and blood to sustain for decades. We saw the economy and social services continuing to collapse under the heavy weight of corruption and mismanagement. Uganda, ladies and gentlemen, now ranks as number 38 among the most corrupt countries. I mean, Uganda is only better than 38 countries in the whole world. Otherwise, it beats every other country in corruption. We lose almost a quarter of our national budget to corruption. Towards the end of last year, we borrowed 7 trillion shillings in just 1 week, most of which, of course, is lost to corruption and keeping Museveni's family comfortable. As we speak right now, every Ugandan, even a 1-day-old child, has a debt of 2 million shillings on their head. 2 million shillings, even on a 1-day child. That's where we are as a nation. Recently, you saw General Museveni shamelessly appointing NRM stooges to the Electoral Commission, a commission which is supposed to be impartial and independent. And yet, with all these challenges, we choose not to give up. We choose to fight on for a new Uganda because we believe in it and we know that we must achieve it in our lifetime. When we carried out the NUP countrywide tour, you all saw millions of Ugandans turning up to receive and embrace and endorse our message of change and liberation. When we announced the launch of this new headquarters of the National Unity Platform, thousands of people converged here to witness the opening of yet another command center of the struggle for the liberation of our country. We also witnessed the massive support and solidarity of our fellow Ugandans in the diaspora and friends of Uganda that continue to stand with us in our struggle for freedom in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, we saw the world premiere of our documentary film, The People's President, which continues to expose the atrocities that General Museveni and his bloody regime have committed against the people of Uganda. Just 2 days ago, this documentary won the Global Cinema Eye Award in New York. And as if that is not good enough, it has been shortlisted for the prestigious Oscar Awards. Friends, this documentary has been by far the most potent, by far the hardest and the most effective assault on the Museveni regime internationally since 1986. Yes, Museveni for a long time has invested so much of Ugandan taxpayers' money trying to paint a rosy picture of his regime, but we managed to expose him, to undress him to the entire community. And right now, he's no better than Idi Amin or Robert Mugabe or Mobutu Sese Seko. He is known for the dictator that he is, and of course we continue to expose him further and deeper. But again, like I always tell you, we are still fighting on because, as you see, 2024 promises to be even tougher. This year alone, ladies and gentlemen, it began with the murder of a very promising music artist called Kato Hussein, also known as Black Ice. He was attacked and killed in Kamocha at his home. But as usual, there was no police investigation and no police report whatsoever. The murder was swept under the carpet, and we lost Black Ice like we've lost many other Ugandans. Then we saw the alleged gun attack, which claimed the life of Pastor Bujingo's driver or bodyguard or church elder, also a UPDF and SFC soldier. This was a very unique case, ladies and gentlemen, because, unlike in the past, even if there were many obvious questions for the police to ask and to launch investigations, just like it was in the past, there was no investigation, there was no arrest, but instead the military ordered Ugandans, especially those on social media, not to discuss this alleged attack. No wonder the public and the Ugandans, especially on social media, decided to take the investigations in their own hands, and we continue to follow those investigations. Also, every time such a shooting happens, ladies and gentlemen, the regime quickly blames it on ADF rebels before, of course, carrying out any conclusive investigations. We do not dispute the existence of ADF rebels. but neither do we dispute the possibility of the regime masterminding such crimes, after which they parade especially Muslim people before the media. You all remember when Museveni's minister told Parliament that the soldiers that were seen on camera beating people on the streets of Kampala were actually from West Africa. You all remember that Jamiru Mukulu, who is said to be the leader of the ADF, was captured on the news shouting at the entrance of a court above City Square that Museveni regime is the one that gives them money and weapons to the ADF rebels. You also remember that Idi Amin's son, Lumumba Amin, made a video last year suggesting that it was Museveni who murdered Ben Chiwanuka in the 70s. According to him, Museveni was seen driving a car registration number UUU 171 in which Ben Chiwanuka was abducted and later murdered. Museveni went ahead in his book, Sowing the Mustard Seed, to reveal that he was actually the one who was driving that car on the day which his terrorist group was raided by government soldiers. So, your guess is just as good as mine. You also remember the confession by General Kaindo Tafire that during their bush war days, Museveni and his bandits would raid villages, rape and kill civilians, and then blame it on in order to have the population turn against Obote. And even today, you all are aware that the regime pays several propagandists and bloggers to discredit our struggle for a better Uganda and for freedom and democracy. They hire hardcore criminals like Sobi to do the dirty work for them, and of course eliminate them after using them. Comrades, we all are aware of the top secret plans by the regime to assassinate leaders of the National Unity Platform and later blame it on ADF. I believe by now most of you have seen the tweet by Honorable Zake exposing the threat to his life. Last year, I had to cut short my trip in Kabale after a friendly European embassy gave us intelligence that there was a plan to kill me by shooting on that tour. Indeed, gunmen were captured on camera, edging closer to me, one of whom was wrestled down by my security team with a loaded gun ready to shoot. He was disarmed, handed to police in PG, but as usual, that was the end of the story. Nothing was done. So, with that background, we have reason to believe that the ongoing shootings are just a dress rehearsal for the regime, but the main targets are the opposition leaders, especially the leaders of the National Unity Platform. They want the population to get used to the excuse of ADF so that by the time they come for our lives, the population will be convinced already that the killing was a terror attack by the ADF rebels, not political assassination by the NRM. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ugandans, be alert. These are criminals, these are rebels, these are terrorists, these are murderers, and they must never fool you in case anything happens to any of us. Either the regime is responsible for all these shootings and killings, or it knows who is behind it. I mean, isn't it suspicious that the regime bought and installed CCTV cameras around the city and spent more than 450 billion shillings of taxpayers' money, but they've never even identified one shooter through all the years? Doesn't that disturb or provoke your mind? You have seen the regime spending a lot of money. Now recently, they've been spending an obscene amount of money for temporary fixing of roads and other infrastructures ahead of the non-aligned movement summit, and yet they never do these things for the citizens. They never fix the roads, they never fix the infrastructure for the citizens. Of course, in a well-governed country, a summit like the NAM summit would be a blessing because it would mean more foreign exchange, therefore more business for the locals and the citizens. But in Uganda's case, what was supposed to be a blessing has actually turned out to be a curse, like it was during the CHOGM summit. So many livelihoods have been disrupted, and some have even been completely destroyed, all in the name of putting up a fake image. Reports indicate that more than 3,000 businesses have been either closed or disrupted. Many people have been rounded up and detained, especially the homeless people in Kampala. Traffic and transport has become a nightmare, and generally lives of the citizens have been brought to a standstill. All this has been done in the name of the NAM summit, whose benefits are actually limited to a few political elite who are making a kill out of it. Before long, I'm sure you're going to be seeing scandals and reports of who stole what, of who embezzled what, but that is the daily business that happens under the Museveni regime. I also want the democratic leaders that are attending the NAM summit to know and understand that they're actually being hosted by an illegitimate ruler. Yes, an illegitimate government which is holding people on gunpoint against their will. You have seen the government using the NAM summit to paint a rosy picture to the international visitors, to the extent that Museveni's minister, Chris Baryomunsi, actually ordered the people of Uganda, the suffering, the hungry and angry people of Uganda, Baryomunsi ordered them to smile forcefully when the visitors come, so that they can, pretend to be happy, pretend to be comfortable. Friends, I'm requesting you to use this opportunity and every other opportunity to expose this regime and to expose the reality that indeed Uganda is bleeding. We must do everything possible for the world to know that Uganda is bleeding, because this is yet another opportunity. No wonder they're forcing us to smile, because they want to cover up their mess. We must continue calling upon the international community to stop financing Museveni and his oppression against the people of Uganda. We must continue demanding for our missing people, dead or alive. We must continue demanding for the release of all political prisoners, and of course demanding for justice for all those that have been killed extrajudicially. We must continue fighting for freedom, for justice, and for equality. We should evoke Article 3 of the Constitution. Article 3, ladies and gentlemen, commands us to do everything within our power to restore our constitutional rule, to restore the rule of law, using every necessary means. So we should evoke Article 3 of Uganda's Constitution. And we should remember that it doesn't only command us to restore constitutional rule, but it actually protects us while we go about that goal. I want once again invite you. Yeah, Omanyina Kolame Doboz, so I was going to project. I was asking you to not stop demanding for what's rightfully ours, to continue fighting back. We must continue mobilizing and organizing ourselves at all levels of society, so that we can together put an end to this dictatorship, or we shall continue to be slaves. We need to fight for our freedom, ladies and gentlemen, because nobody will fight for us if we don't do it for ourselves. Remember, the struggle continues. This is a new year. Let us engage another gear. Let us do everything possible, and let us start now. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for God and my country. Mbidde mune mu Luganda. Mwebale nnyo bassebo ne bannyabo, nja kujja mulajjabulamu katonotono. Then oluvannyuma lwa byonna ndowooza tujja kufunayo ebibuuzo ebiva gye muli bassebo ne bannyabo. Tusoose kwebaza Katonda olw'okutusomosa omwaka 2023 n'otukkiriza okulaba guno mwaka ogwa 2024. Twafiiriddwa abantu baffe bangi omwaka oguwedde, waliwo n'abaakatuvaako kati twongera obasa musaala zaffe nga bwe tugenda mu maaso okulwana okulaba nga kye baali basinga okulwanirira tukituukiriza, waakiri tubaweesa ekitiibwa. Njagadde n'okuyozaayoza liida waffe omupya mu paliamenti Right Honorable Joel Ssenyonyi, sebo tukuyozaayoza. Tweraba nnyo bwe tukulaba, naffe tweraba mu ggwe, era tukusabira nti Katonda kukkiriza kuwa amaanyi gwe ne ttiimu yo, eddoboozi ly'abantu ba bulijjo liwulikike, ne bayayanira biwulikike ku fulo ya paliamenti mu buweereza bwammwe. Omwaka guno njagadde tugutandike nga tujjukira bye tuyisemu omwaka oguwedde, ate nga bwe tunuulira ebiseera eby'omu maaso. Omwaka oguwedde nga bwe mujjukira wabaddewo obubbi bungi, naye ate obubbi obwasinga okukwata ejjembe bwe bubbi obwenyigirwamu Vice President wa Museveni, Prime Minister we Nabbanja, Speaker wa Parliament ne baminisita bangi nnyo nga bagabana ebintu ebyali birina okuyamba abantu abonaabona ab'e Karamoja omwali n'amabaati. Abantu b'e Karamoja bwe baali bafa eno, bano baali ku munyago kyannaku nnyo. Of course amawulire gatulaga nti abantu abasukka mu 9 be baafa enjala e Karamoja, ate ng'era kye kitundu ekyasinze obwavu mu Uganda. Okuwamba abantu baffe kweyongera maaso mu mwaka oguwedde, era ng'abo abaasobola okusumatuka ne bakomawo baatunyumiza olugero olw'ennaku ennyo, omwali okutulugunyizibwa n'okukwatibwa, okukakibwa, okwekakaatikibwako, ate nga okukwatibwa kuno tekwalula kwali ne ku basajja. Mujjukira nti omu ku bannaffe gwe bayita Alex Kayuwa yavaayo ye n'amalirira n'ayogera ebyamutuusibwako, ng'omulenzi ono yatuusibwako ogw'obulisamaanyi ng'ali mu CMI. Omulenzi ono abasajja ab'amagye baamwekakaatikako. Felix Kulayije yasirika busirisi, ndowooza obuswavu bwamujjula, ne gavumenti yaabwe yonna tebaavaayo kukyogerako. Be bantu be bamu abaali beefuula abavumirira obuseegu, naye ate nga be basinga obuseegu beekakatika ne ku basajja bannaabwe nga babakutte. Ekyo tukyalinze Felix Kulayije, omwogezi w'amagye, okuvaayo okukyogerako, naye ngera bwe mulaba obuswavu bubadde bungi nnyo, bakyatya okuvaayo okwogera ku nsonga eyo. Tetugenda kulekeraawo kujjukiza bannayuganda bikolobero abasajja abo be bali mukola ku bantu baffe. Bannaffe bangi baakwatibwa nga bwe muli Wuma Lumagala, bwe muli Muyodi n'abalala, ne basibwa e Luzira, era nga kati bakyaliyo nga bavunaanibwa okutuwagira, bavunaanibwa okuba ab'opposition, naye ate nga tewalina due process egiri mugenda maaso. Mwalaba nti omwaka oguwedde Honorable Ssegirinya ne Honorable Ssewanyana bayimbulwa mukomera oluvannyuma
President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine. This is his maiden speech as he comes. 2024 is the year for action, as the year to put down General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. This is our year. This is the year we must act. This is the year we must say no to dictatorship. This is the year we must rise up and say bye-bye to General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine. He has all the information, all the links about the assassination. General Museveni wanna assassinate President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine. General Museveni wanna assassinate Honorable Zake Francis Butebi. General Museveni wanna assassinate NUP leaders and the NUP MPs, NUP councillors, NUP foot soldiers, NUP everybody, freedom fighters. Whenever General Museveni gets up, he thinks about one thing. How can I stop Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine from removing me or putting an end on my dictatorship? So, how? The assassinations are going to be seeing them, the killing going to be seeing them, the poisoning you're going to be seeing them, the torture you're going to be seeing them. Everything is going to be done by General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni just to stop the freedom fighters from fighting, or to delay the freedom fighters from fighting, from removing him in this chair. But very soon, we know, as Ugandans will say no to his regime, as Ugandans will say enough is enough to his dictatorship, as we say enough is enough to his reign of terror, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni will be no more. We must rise up, we must get up, we must walk, we must run, we must grow, we must move, we must push his government down the ground and we take over power. Our President Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine will be swearing in very, very soon. They say no to his dictatorship. Everything will be fine for us. I love you so much. Thank you for always being here. God be with you.